Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going on a seriously fascinating journey. We're exploring a unique source analysis that starts all the way back in the ancient, dusty streets of a rebuilding Jerusalem and brings it right to our front doors. Or, actually, scratch that, right to the smartphones in our pockets. We're taking a hard look at our modern habits of consuming scripture by pulling directly from an analysis of Nehemiah chapters 7 and 8. We'll be examining how ancient devotion holds up a mirror to our fast-paced digital lives.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The source we're analyzing today raises a really fascinating question. Are we reading the actual text, or are we just reading the summary? It's a super compelling challenge. The analysis makes a brilliant point about how our growing reliance on modern AI prompts and those instant, quick-hit study guides might actually be causing us to miss the original text entirely. I mean, we are living in an era of unprecedented convenience, right? But the source asks, what is that convenience actually costing us when it comes to true, deep understanding?
Because think about it, the level of accessibility we have today is just unbelievable. We've got physical texts, digital apps, endless interpretations, and instant AI summaries, all right there in our own regional languages. It's a massive privilege. But the analysis contrasts that amazing access with a very real danger, the loss of originality. Because we have all these incredible study aids that can instantly generate a chapter description, the source argues we run the risk of just skimming the surface. When we rely entirely on AI to distill complex passages for us, we take the text completely for granted, and we lose that deep, personal originality of actually reading it for ourselves.
Section 1, Nehemiah 7, Restoring Community Identity.
So to really understand the contrast with our modern habits, we first have to understand the historical foundation laid out in the text. Picture this. The walls of Jerusalem have finally been rebuilt. The gates are open. The people are returning from exile. It's this profound moment of renewal. But a city isn't just made of walls, right? It's made of people who actually know who they are. To highlight this, the source points to a very specific number, 42,360. That's the exact number of returnees who came back from exile. They didn't just wander back haphazardly. They returned highly systematically with leaders like Zerubbabel and Ezra. This massive registration effort detailed in the text was entirely about restoring their lost identity as a community. Every single person counted in this monumental push to reestablish their historical and cultural roots.
And to restore that community, they knew they had to restore the structure. According to the source, this meant restoring specific worship roles. Lineages were meticulously checked, like a giant puzzle, to assign duties for priests, Levites, and temple servants. The historical analysis points out why this was so absolutely crucial. You couldn't properly restore the community's worship without structure and identity. Everyone needed to know their role according to their specific gifts and family history. It was a deeply organized return, completely aimed at ensuring the community functioned exactly as it was intended to. But the source also points out a totally surprising historical fact woven into all this strict administration, and that is grace. For the families who couldn't immediately prove their lineage and were temporarily barred from certain priestly roles, Nehemiah didn't just cast them out. No way. He actually provided protection and provisions for their needs until their lineage could be definitively verified. It really shows how the ancient leaders ensured absolutely everyone was cared for while they were establishing this highly structured and ordered community.
Section 2, Nehemiah 8, the ancient standard of reverence.
Now, shifting our focus from the physical rebuilding of the walls and registering the people, the source moves to the immense power and reverence the people gave to the text itself. And this is really the core narrative of our explainer. The source maps out a staggering timeline here. Ezra the priest brings the book of Moses before the assembly and reads it continuously from daybreak, literally, all the way to midday. We're talking hours upon hours of unbroken reading. And the people's response? It's fascinating. They listen closely and they physically stand up out of pure respect when they hear the words. Then, the Levites, who were well-versed in the law, help explain and translate the message so everyone in that massive assembly truly understands it. It's just an incredible display of physical endurance and deep communal respect for the text.
Crucially, though, the source notes that this intense reverence wasn't stiff, or quiet, or boring. The culmination of this multi-hour reading was the Feast of Booths. It sparked a massive, joyful celebration. The analysis highlights that they rejoiced because they actually understood the words declared to them, remembering past faithfulness in the wilderness. They were completely reorienting their lives around the text, and their natural response to that deep understanding was just pure joy. Which brings us to Section 3, the movie trailer analogy, consuming the word today. So now that we have that ancient historical standard of hours of standing and joyful reverence firmly in our minds, we can directly connect it to how the text is consumed today. To make this connection, the source uses a brilliant analogy. It notes that relying on summaries is like looking at the trailers and reviews of a movie rather than actually looking into the movie itself. Think about that comparison for a second. When we rely solely on commentaries, study guides, or just type a prompt into an AI to spit out a quick chapter summary, we are settling for the trailer. We're getting a distilled review of the thing rather than experiencing the full, complex feature film. The source argues that this habit causes modern readers to completely miss out on the actual depth and nuance of the original text.
The source draws a pretty stark contrast here. On one side, we have the ancient way. Public reading, standing for hours, and dedicating massive amounts of physical time and life to the original text. On the other side, we have the modern way. Effortlessly typing an AI prompt for a quick, summarized chapter description. The source highlights this juxtaposition to show that modern readers have frequently traded the physical weight and profound dedication of the ancient exiles for quick, frictionless digital habits. It's a completely different behavioral approach to interacting with a foundational text.
Section 4. Applying the word. Merging modern tech with ancient reverence. Now, I want to be absolutely clear, and our source is clear on this too. Modern technology is not the enemy here. We don't need to throw our phones in a river. We just need to ensure these tools are used correctly. The core argument is that technology gives us an unbelievable advantage for quick searching and preparation, but it must ultimately lead back to the primary source. The analysis notes how much easier study prep is today compared to the early days of relying solely on physical notes and dragging out massive concordances. Quick digital searches and AI summaries, they are brilliant advantages for preparation, but the danger is stopping there. These modern tools should enhance the reading of the original text, not replace the act of reading entirely. So how do we bridge this gap between ancient devotion and modern convenience? The source outlines 3 really actionable steps. First, actually read the chapters yourself. Go directly to the original source material instead of outsourcing the reading to an algorithm. Second, confess or verbalize the text in different situations. The source suggests letting the actual words, rather than a summary, instruct and direct your daily life. And third, memorize the text to fundamentally reorient your perspective, much like the ancient Israelites did during their historical celebrations. By taking these intentional steps, the source argues that modern readers can reclaim the incredible depth of understanding that only comes from direct engagement. And the source leaves us with this super provocative challenge to end on. This week, will you settle for the summary, or will you stand in reverence for the source? Next time there's a temptation to just read an AI-generated movie trailer of a complex chapter, this analysis offers a compelling historical counterexample of deep, time-intensive engagement. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Now go open the actual text for yourself.